committee. Oh, good. We are recording. We are a team of volunteers that run this campaign. Media, as you probably know by now, is the first fair trade town of America. We self-declared in the year 2006, and without noticing, we started a movement that spread all across the United States. And now there are more than 45 fair trade towns, the latest one being Los Angeles, California, which declared last year. And the campaigns spread from towns and municipalities to schools, universities, congregations, and we all share one mission, which is spread the word and raise awareness about fair trade and its values of community, sustainability, social and trading justice, and of course, the end of poverty. So today we are joined by two other campaigns, Penn State Brandywine and Penn Crest High School, both in Media, Pennsylvania. And we have Professor Zoya Pavlovskaya and Spanish teacher Laura Nemec, who are here today with their students. And we are all together here to celebrate Fair Trade Month and listen to a great speaker about a great company. So without further ado, I am going to introduce to all of you Bill Wiedmann. I don't know, where do you see him? I see him on the left on my screen. Hopefully you by now know who he is. Bill, if you can say hi so everybody knows you're there. There you go. And Bill has been a volunteer to our committee for a long time. He is the co-founder of Singing Dog Vanilla, a company that exports and imports vanilla and other ingredients to several countries, including the United States, Chile, Australia, Japan. Last night, learning a little bit more about his company, I read that they founded the company on April Fool's Day, 2004, which is the day I became a mom. My firstborn was born that day. So we share something with Bill there. Our company, his company and my son, they're gonna become adults very soon. They're gonna turn 18 next year. And also, Bill holds an engineering degree from University of Pennsylvania and also an MBA from the University of Hawaii. So far and beyond, he has been learning and studying and working. He has worked for companies in manufacturing and design engineering and also in sales and management. And he has worked throughout Asia for a global manufacturing company and served also as a consultant to small businesses in the Pacific Islands. So he seems serious, but he is a little bit funny. And it's a little bit like his company that has a funny name, but it's a serious company. So without further ado, Bill, take it from here. And thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you so much, Mariana, for the nice introduction. I will try not to make it too serious today because that's not the kind of company we are. So let me get the presentation started here. Hopefully you all can see that.
Yes.
Okay. So once again, thanks for having me here today. Looking forward to speaking with all of you today. There'll be time for questions, but please go ahead and ask them in the middle of this. I'll try to be as flexible as possible. I want everybody to learn a little bit and have some fun today. So when Mariana first asked me for a title for my presentation, it just so happened I had literally just read the headline about it being the 42nd anniversary of the publishing of Life, the Universe, and Everything. If you're not familiar, this is the first book of Douglas Adams' classic and extremely funny science fiction trilogy. And if you haven't read it, it'll become clear in a few minutes why people are celebrating the oddly 42nd anniversary of something, but that will become clear. So, you know, and the reason that I chose this is here at Singing Dog Vanilla, we believe in being playful, having fun, and that's why you see our tagline there is silly name, serious vanilla. We like to do things like talk about our vanillitude and the greater Vanillaverse that accomplishes all that we do. So that's why the timing of Mariana's request for a presentation title made me immediately think of what you see here on this page, Life, the Vanillaverse, and Everything. But then I thought about it a little bit more, and another reason for this, using this title, came to me. So in the book, there is a supercomputer called Deep Thought, and it is programmed to find the ultimate answer to life, the universe, and everything. And after 7.5 million years of calculation, Deep Thought delivers the surprising answer of 42. So this led to the realization that we didn't really know what the question was in the first place. So I'm not really going to get too deeply philosophical on you today, but I think that sometimes we have questions for which we seek answers, and sometimes life gives us answers, and it's only later that we realize the questions that they solve. So for me, the answer is not 42. The answer is vanilla. But I didn't really fully appreciate it at the time that that answer came to me. And so to kind of explain that a little bit, let's talk about what Singing Dog Vanilla does. So in a nutshell, we're a vanilla company that makes all things vanilla. Not just vanilla beans and vanilla extract, but vanilla bean paste, vanilla salt, vanilla sugar, vanilla frosty mixes, and vanilla lip balms. So other companies will make something like a vanilla extract and then ask, what other extracts can we make? You know, we'll make an almond extract, a peppermint extract, all sorts of things along that line. We looked at this and we said, well, we know vanilla. We've built relationships with vanilla farmers. Let's be the best vanilla company there is by innovating around vanilla. So here's a simple visual of how this works. We work directly with vanilla farmers in Indonesia to source sustainable, high-quality vanilla. We import it and make it into a variety of products that we sell to grocery stores, to restaurants, to bakeries.
He's talking, but we're not hearing him.
To a wide variety of food manufacturers. That includes ice cream makers, breweries, granola companies, bar manufacturers, nearly any kind of food producer you can imagine.
It keeps doing that.
Remains the world's most popular flavor.
Unmute.
Right. So let's have a little bit of fun now. Start off with something fun. Does everybody know the game Price is Right? Does everybody know how to play the Price is Right? So when we play this game is going to require you to know how to use the chat feature in Zoom. And if you're not familiar with that, you can open up the chat by moving your mouse around until you see the chat at the bottom of the screen. Click on that and it will open up, and get ready to put in your guess and hit enter to submit it. So what we're going to do is we're going to guess the price of 55 gallons of organic pure vanilla extract. So Price is Right rules are the closest without going over wins, and the prize is an Expand Your Vanillaverse t-shirt. Okay, so I'm going to give you a little bit of context here, and we're going to say, okay, what does 55 gallons of some things we know cost? 55 gallons of water, you can probably get it for about $55. 55 gallons of milk, $178 and change. 55 gallons of gas, you're pushing $200 for that. 55 gallons of Starbucks coffee, now we're getting pricey, $880. And 55 gallons of extra virgin olive oil. So we're over $1,200 for that. So now this is your chance to guess what is the price of 55 gallons of pure vanilla extract. So, you know, I'll give you about 30 seconds to put in there. No using Google. We want an honest competition here, okay? And Mariana and Elizabeth, I might need your help to figure out who the winner is here. So we're gonna give this a few more seconds. Gonna go 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, we got the guesses in. Price is $15,694.25. So let's see, scanning the things here. Boy, we got a lot of good guesses. Quite a range, quite a range. So I see 5,000, 3,500, 1,500, 1,300, 2,000, 5,000, another 5,000, 5,000, 10,000. Drew, you're looking pretty good here. I think I'm gonna, oh, wait a minute. Okay, we said, Lynn said 15,000. Okay. Lynn, I think you are the winner. That was really, really close. Sorry, Drew. I was rooting for you. Okay, so Lynn, if you would please just send me an email with your mailing address and the size that you would like. Oh, wait, if she said 1,500. Sorry, I'm following the chat here. Okay, I think, Drew, you might have this. You might have this. Okay, we might have to review the results later, but we're going to call Drew the tentative winner here. And Drew, Bill at singingdogvanilla.com will get you hooked up with your Vanillaverse, expand your Vanillaverse t-shirt. Okay. All right. I hope you guys enjoyed that. All right. So let's carry on. So a question I am often asked is, how do you get in the vanilla business? And funny enough, it turns out that when I was a little kid, I told my mother, who's actually on the call today, I told my mother that when I grow up, I either wanted to be an astronaut or run a vanilla company. Seriously though, I was an unusual kid, but I wasn't that unusual. I'm just kidding about that. But actually, like many of us, I think we've probably all had this experience. You know, you're a young person, you're asking yourself, what do I want to do? What do I want to be? And, you know, and you heard Mariana's introduction. I have kind of a background in some different things, which you might not think would normally lead to vanilla. But, you know, through my life, yeah, I answered that question in a variety of ways, and they were all kind of fulfilling and enriching in their own way. But, you know, it wasn't until the answer of vanilla came into my life that kind of the question was reframed for me. Anyway, so how did I get into the vanilla business? You know, the usual way. It all started with t-shirts and sugar-free chocolate. So let me explain. Back in the early 2000s, I was living in Hawaii. And at that time, I met my business partner, Marty Friedman. And we were both working as business consultants for manufacturers throughout the state of Hawaii and the Pacific region. And in working together, we found that we had complementary skills. And we kind of decided to start a business together. And Marty had ownership in an apparel company that was of a native Hawaiian artist. And he also knew the owner of a sugar-free chocolate company that needed help selling their product online, which was actually relatively new back then. So that was our start. That's how we got going. But it was not long after that that we met some vanilla farmers in Papua New Guinea. And the possibilities of the vanilla business really captured our attention. You can take a look at that comic there, but so why did we get excited about vanilla when the word itself is synonymous with the opposite of excitement? So when people think about vanilla, they say, well, vanilla equals plain, vanilla equals boring, vanilla equals simple, it equals dull, and it equals ordinary. Okay, so why were we excited about vanilla? Well, you see, about a year before this opportunity occurred, I had done some consulting with a vanilla grower on the Big Island of Hawaii. And in the process, I became fascinated with how vanilla is not plain, that vanilla is fancy, it's exciting, it's amazingly complex, fascinating, and extraordinary. So, and it turns out that for most of human history, vanilla was a rare and prized flavoring. It was reserved for royalty and the elite. Pretty amazing. And I'm going to tell you a little bit. Here's a little bit about vanilla. So, pop quiz time. Vanilla beans come from A, a vanilla tree, B, an orchid, C, a small shrub, or D, a type of palm tree. So just, if you want to put your answer in the chat, you can. Ooh, okay. I see B, I see B, I see B, I see B. Boy, most of you guys, I can't pull anything over on you guys. vanilla is an orchid. Okay, so yes, vanilla is an orchid. And it turns out that there are over 25,000 species of orchids. And vanilla is the only one that produces an edible fruit. So, in my opinion, not so ordinary. So, a few more facts about vanilla. It's a climbing vine, typically grown on a support tree. And as the vine grows, they loop it over the lower branches of the support tree so that the flowers can be easily accessed. And this photo that you see on the right is of a particularly robust vanilla vineyard in Indonesia. It was remarkably healthy. So, history of vanilla. Vanilla is indigenous to Mexico and can only be grown in the tropics. After the discovery of the New World by Europeans, attempts were made to grow vanilla commercially in other tropical locations. But all of these attempts pretty much produced little or no vanilla beans. And they didn't really realize it at the time, but these other locations did not have the tiny melipona bee, which is the natural pollinator of vanilla orchids that's found in Mexico, but not in these other places. And it was not until 1841 that Edmund Albius was a 12-year-old slave boy on the island of Reunion in the Indian Ocean. He unlocked the secret to commercial vanilla production. Edmund invented the technique for hand pollination that is still used today, even in Mexico, since the melipona bee is really a pretty inefficient pollinator and only pollinates a small percentage of flowers. So when it is pollination time, when the vines are flowering, when it's a season for flowering, the farmers, it's like a 4 to 6 week period or so, the farmers have to walk their fields every morning looking for fresh blooms. And this is because the vanilla orchid only lasts for about half the day before wilting. And if it is not pollinated during that narrow little window of time, the chance to get a vanilla bean from that flower is lost. They have to walk them every day just to catch the flowers that are coming out that day, or they miss their chance. And even if they successfully pollinate that flower, a single flower gives a single vanilla pod. You start to get a feel for how labor intensive vanilla is. It's a lot of work. And these fields are not out their back door. They're a hike to get to. So it's long walks every day during pollinations. And a little fun fact is, although everyone calls them vanilla beans, they are technically a seed pod with thousands of tiny vanilla seeds inside. And these are the tiny black dots you see when something is made with real vanilla. And I actually have a video here of how they pollinate a vanilla orchid. Simple process. They just really, they take the pollen from one part of the orchid and put it into another part of the orchid. And that's pollination. Okay. So once it's pollinated, the vanilla is going to grow to its full length within a couple of months of pollination, but it needs to stay on that vine for 7 to 8 months to fully mature. If they harvest it early, it's going to result in really poor quality cured vanilla. And what happens is when prices are high, as they are currently, and were even higher just a short time ago, the theft of immature beans from the fields is a real problem that farmers need to deal with. So in some ways, it's a challenge to get farmers to keep their vanilla beans on the vine to full maturity. It requires a good working relationship. So once the beans are harvested, then the long process of curing begins. So the first step is called killing. And the vanilla beans in this step, they're briefly immersed in near boiling water, which stops the vegetative growth and breaks down the cell walls, allowing the enzymes that are ultimately going to create the complex vanilla flavor to mix together and begin their work. And at this stage, there's really no vanilla aroma at all. It just smells green and grassy. It's kind of like a big green bean almost. So after the killing, the beans are placed in bags or wrapped in blankets overnight to hold in the heat and complete that step. And typically the next day, sun curing begins. And this process involves rapid moisture loss, which is accomplished by spreading the vanilla beans in the sun for several hours each day. And as the beans shrink and soften, they turn from the green color that when they were harvested to a brown color, and they begin to develop the wonderful vanilla aroma that we're seeking through this process. And this process can take several weeks, and it really depends on the presence of the sun and the intensity of the sun. And in a lot of ways, it's more of an art than a science. They're really just looking for, watching the beans carefully, seeing which ones are ready to go to that next step. And every night they have to pack those vanilla beans away safely, and then bring them out the next day, spread them out again, and repeat this process over and over for weeks until they're ready to move on to the next step, which is called shade cure. And as that name implies, in the shade curing step, the beans, they're kept out of the direct sun. They're placed on racks like you see there on the right in a shaded area and stacked up so that the air can flow through them and remove the moisture. It's a slower and more controlled process. And this process also can take several weeks. And at the end of it, you have a vanilla bean that's reached its final cured weight and looks and smells like a vanilla bean that you would expect. However, the process isn't over yet. So the final step before export is called conditioning. And in this step, the vanilla beans they're packed tightly in either plastic boxes or wooden crates for a period of several weeks. And this finishing step allows time for the enzymes to complete their task of fully developing the vanilla flavor and all of its delicious complexity. So great about vanilla. And only then are they ready to be carefully packed and exported to the United States. So all told, a vanilla bean's journey from pollination to extraction is about 1 full year. A long process. Okay, circling back now. So I hope you can see now why I don't consider vanilla to be boring, having now learned a little bit about it. It's not boring at all. It's actually very interesting and I think exciting. But maybe you can see why the prospect of getting into the vanilla business was so exciting to Marty and me. So let's get back to our story. So we had this big idea of vanilla, and now we do some vanilla farms. So, but what we didn't have was a lot of money. But we wanted to build a sustainable company with long-term relationships. This led us to the concept of Fair Trade Plus. So what is Fair Trade Plus? Pretty simple, actually. It's paying a fair price to the farmer. And I'll talk a little bit later how we arrive at that price. The farmers agree to certain conditions, things like children need to be in school, and it's not an issue in the areas that we are, but there, no forced labor, equal treatment of people, those sorts of things. They agree to those things. They also agree to quality standards, like making sure that they don't harvest early, that they give us good quality vanilla beans. And then the plus is that we give the farmers a share of the profits. So we take their vanilla beans, we bring them over here, we make them into all of these products and sell them, and we take a portion of that final sales price. We take some of that profit that we get from the final finished goods sales and share that back with the farmers. So that's the plus in this. So Marty and I, we put all the pieces in place, and we met with the farmers. This photo here probably needs a little bit of explanation. This was my first trip to Papua New Guinea, and when I approached the village, they had done this amazingly, had prepared a traditional Papua New Guinean sing-sing, this elaborate ceremony where they were decked out in their traditional garb and doing songs and dance. It was really quite a moving experience. It was really something special to see that. So that's what the photo was about. But so we brought in some vanilla. We built our website, and we waited for the orders to just come pouring in, right? So at this point, we're a one-product company. We had gourmet grade vanilla. That was the only thing we had. And we figured our first customer would be some kind of top chef at a 5-star restaurant or some kind of premium bakery. Well, it turned out that our first sale was half a dozen vanilla beans to an artist on Maui that made gnome-like sculptures like you see here. So, after this rather humbling start, we did eventually get customers that wanted to use vanilla for food. So don't worry, we got back on track. But so I digressed a little bit there, but back to Fair Trade Plus. Why is that important? So, in the regions that we source vanilla from, it can be an important crop, but farmers have options. And frankly, in my experience, farmers are some of the smartest people around. They are acutely aware that time is a limited resource, and they are very skilled at using theirs wisely. They're masters of risk-benefit analysis and taking into account probable losses from weather events and future commodity prices. So there's all these things that they're got swirling in their minds when they're trying to figure out what to do with their valuable time. So, they have, at least where we source our vanilla from, they have lots and lots of options, as can be seen at any local market. They can grow coffee, and many of them do. There's coffee on a tree and coffee drying. They can grow rice. You can grow jackfruit, tomatoes, corn, cacao, cocoa, and chocolate. Strawberries, onions, tobacco, which is an important cash crop in the area, and mango. So, all of these things are as I'm driving around visiting the farmers, these are all just things that I see growing and options that they all have. So as you can see, there's many, many choices, which actually, as a traveler in Indonesia, I truly appreciate when I'm at a roadside stand on an empty stomach, because many of these things are very delicious and I can't get them at home. So I try to get them when I'm there and enjoy them. So for the farmers, one big concern for a crop like vanilla, which is a crop that requires just a huge labor input at pollination, but it's not going to be ready to sell for 8 or 9 months. So they have to, decide whether or not they're going to put in this huge investment for an event that's going to happen 3/4 of a year later. So the concern for them is whether or not there will be a buyer at harvest time. Singing Dog Vanilla, we want to make this a really easy decision for them, because we want them to grow vanilla. We don't want them to take all of these other options. We want to make sure that we're on their list of things they're going to grow. We want to make it easy for them. And that's why we have long-term relationships with these farmers, in which we tell them that if you grow it, we will buy it. Okay. And here we go with the price. So our negotiations are really, they're very one-sided negotiations. They kind of go like this. We ask them, how much do you want for your vanilla? And they tell us, and then that's how much we pay. So pretty one-sided, not a lot of back and forth. So the reason this works is because they receive a portion of the profits. We call them Fair Trade Plus commissions. So they're going to receive a portion of the profits, and now they have an incentive to give us a fair price, but not an inflated price, so that we can be competitive in the marketplace and sell more product. Also, it incentivizes them to give us top quality vanilla and not cut corners, because you're not going to sell poor quality vanilla profitably. So it helps align our incentives. So why fair trade makes good business sense for us? So as I was just mentioning, everyone's incentives are aligned. We all care about a fair price and high quality, because the reasons I just said. If they try to sell it to us too high, we're not competitive. There'll be no profits to share. But we have this relationship with them, and this relationship requires trust, and it takes time to build, but it does yield these incredible long-term benefits. An example of this is we're kind of on the end of where vanilla prices are actually coming down a little bit, but 2 or 3 years ago, they were sky high. Vanilla was, there was a kind of a mismatch of supply and demand. And when that happens, there was not enough supply and plenty of demand, and vanilla prices were through the roof. And what was happening was buyers were roaming the countryside quite literally, trying to find vanilla farmers and just buy their crop because people were desperate to get vanilla. But and they came to our farmers and they were offering, to buy the vanilla on the spot. And because we had this long-term relationship with our farmers, they said, no, we're going to save our vanilla for Singing Dog Vanilla because they're our partners. So that's where it really paid off for us. So long-term relationships are just huge. And then it's a sustainable model. Since everyone in the supply chain is profiting from it, this model can go on and on and on. An alternative to doing it the way we do it would be trying to squeeze the farmers for the lowest price possible. And while doing that, you get higher short-term profit. It would mean that you're continually having to find new farmers and, frankly, exploiting them year after year. And that's something that we absolutely have no interest in, because doing it this way is just rewarding and fun. Feel good about it. Okay. So one of the things that's especially rewarding about what we do is to see how the farmers use their Fair Trade Plus commitments. And I'll give you a few examples. So this is our grower group that we've had the longest term relationship with at Oxacombe on the island of Lombok. And this group, they primarily grow vanilla and coffee. And it works really well because they're countercyclical crops. When it's a busy time for vanilla, it's slow time for coffee and vice versa. And so we sent them their Fair Trade Plus commissions. And the next time I visited them, they were excited to show me what they had done with it. And they brought me over to this machine that you see here in the picture. And what this is the coffee hubbing machine. So the way coffee grows, it grows in a little shell. So when you look at a coffee bean, you know how they're kind of half hemispheres. They're each hemispheres, like two of them together. So it's a round coffee bean with two of those inside. To process coffee, you need to remove that hard outer shell. And what the farmers used to have to do was cart these heavy bags of coffee still on the shell down to town, pay somebody to hold that coffee for them so that it would then be ready for sale. So extra weight being carried, extra money to pay them, etc. So the first purchase they made was this coffee holding machine. So now they could haul their own coffee. And better yet, and this is why I say farmers are some of the smartest people I know, the surrounding villages started to bring their coffee to them instead of down to the town, which was further away, so that they had a revenue stream coming from this. Absolutely brilliant. Another time I visited, they said, oh, let's show you, Bill, what we bought with the Fair Trade Commissions this time. And they brought me over to this cow. And I said, wow, oh, that's great, so now you get milk from the cow. Is that what this is? I said, no, this is a bull. And I was a little bit confused until they explained to me that what they would do is rent this bull out to stud. Once again, creating a continuous revenue stream for the village. Just great stuff. Some of the other things they've done, the picture there in the upper left is a group over on Flores. Whenever they had village gatherings, they would rent chairs and a sound system and those sorts of things. So they kept paying over and over to rent these things. They went out and bought some chairs, and they were super happy about that. Another group bought a sound system so that at those events, they wouldn't have to rent that equipment as well. And then you see some very practical things there, like some weed whackers and some chainsaws. So the point is that these farmers, they're organized in groups, or they're organized in co-ops and villages. And what we are doing when we give them these Fair Trade Plus commissions, we're saying, here, this is yours. You figure out what you need to do with this, and you make the decision. We're not telling them how to spend the money. We're just saying, you use it wisely, use it for what you need. And what we have found over and over and over again is they do exactly that. They actually do things that I don't think I could have come up with as good solutions for how to use them on most. So it's really fun to see that. So in all of this, it's kind of like our farmers and their families. They may not be directly on our payroll here, but they really are a part of the Singing Dog Vanilla family. And that's what really makes it all work. So, if you follow us on Facebook or Instagram or any of those, and I encourage you to do so, you'll find our farmers, they're among the first people to like and comment on our Facebook and Instagram posts. So, they're definitely engaged in what we're doing. And, over the years, we've lived through some happy events like births, and graduations and weddings, and it's always fun to celebrate those things. But there's been some sad events too, and I'll share one with you. And this is what happened back in 2018. So I generally go to visit our farmers every year during the summer. And I really enjoy those trips, time to connect, time to we do talk some business, but mostly it's about relationships. And back in 2018, I had a trip planned for August of 2018. And about 1 week before I was supposed to leave, a 6.4 magnitude earthquake struck the island of Lombok, which is where most of our farmers live. And our incredible Indonesian country manager, Muhir, he quickly went into action, and he organized food and water for our farming families, who pretty much all of them now, they were living outside under tarps, like you see in that picture on the lower left. And that was because either their homes had collapsed or they were so badly damaged that they feared they could come down with the continued aftershocks that actually kept happening. So Muhir suggested that I postpone my trip for my own safety. But I decided to continue because, being a guy from Pennsylvania, of course, I know all about earthquakes. We're all experts here in Pennsylvania about earthquakes. As far as I was concerned, earthquakes are supposed to be, one big tremor followed by increasingly smaller aftershocks. So I figured the worst of it was over. I was going to go on the trip. Well, the day before I was supposed to get on a plane for the long journey, which takes about 2 days to get there, an even bigger, a 6.9 magnitude earthquake struck this evening. And while I was nervous about continuing the trip, I thought, well, these are people that were in need, and what kind of family turns away at a time like that? And I went ahead with my trip, in which the only other people on the almost empty inbound plane as I flew into Indonesia were emergency workers. Normally it's a packed flight when I come in, but just me and a bunch of emergency workers on the plane. I did take some small comfort in the fact that some of these same emergency workers were staying at my hotel. So I kind of figured that, maybe I hoped that they had judged that this building was, sufficiently sound, and that's why they were staying there. But even if they were wrong, help was right at hand. So anyway, I'm joking a little bit, but what really, during this trip, I saw incredible devastation. It was really remarkable. I've never seen anything like that. But what happened during this visit, it really deepened the relationship that we have with the farmers and their families. And it's something that I'll never forget. And I'm glad I did. So, kind of wrapping up, and then we can do some questions. I just want to say sort of that, including all that's gone before this, I just want to say how much I love my dull, my boring, and the ordinary work that I do in the Vanillaverse. As you've seen from the presentation today, it's all just extremely boring and dull. But it's rewarding to me. And for me, vanilla, it is the answer to kind of an ever developing question. So with that, I will take any questions. It looks like, I don't know why that happened, but that's supposed to be showing Facebook and Twitter and Instagram. Easy enough to find us, Singing Dog Vanilla. Okay. I'm happy to take any questions if there are.
Well, this has been an amazing presentation, and I am in awe and mesmerized and amazed by the ups and downs and just all the learning. I am going to let everyone participate by inviting whoever wants to write a question in the chat or just unmute themselves and just ask any question. What comes to mind first, Bill, from me is tell us a little bit about the name. I'm pretty sure somebody else may ask this, but where does the name come from? I know it's a funny answer, but
That's
sure
right. Yeah,
somebody else is wondering too.
right. That question is right up there with how did you get in the vanilla business? Then it's like, where did that name come from? And as you saw in the presentation, our first grower group was in Papua New Guinea. And my business partner, Marty, gets credit for this name. He found that in the area where the vanilla is grown, there is an indigenous dog, the New Guinea singing dog. And it doesn't bark. It has this unique howl. You can hear it on our website. It almost sounds like whale song. It's a little spooky, but really cool. And, they're a little bit different from others in the canine world, and we were trying to be a little bit different than others in the vanilla business. So it just seemed like the perfect fit.
That's great. Yeah, we'll take it to the chat now. If anybody wants to post a question or just unmute and ask something. I don't know if the professors and teachers.
Can I ask something, Mariana?
Yeah.
So, Bill, hi. I wanted to say
Hey,
that,
Aaron.
first of all, your beard's looking a little more vanilla than I think the last time I saw you. How appropriate. Perfect. So why did you choose to do Fair Trade Plus, create your own system of fair trade instead of going with one of the traditional certifiers like Fair Trade USA or Fair Trade America?
An excellent question, Ira. Thanks. It's good to see you. Yeah, so the reason that we did that is, the way I told the story, you saw that it's sort of like we sort of felt like this was just the right way to do business. And the way we do this, you see, we have this direct relationship with the farmers. And, while, I appreciate and applaud and support the work of all these other fair trade organizations, in our case, it just is another thing that's not really needed in the relationship. We can pay directly to them and we know them. And, and for some of these groups, there's certain rules around getting certified on their end that make it, sometimes a little bit problematic for them. In this instance, they don't need to worry about that. And we can just have all the money flowing directly from us directly to them. So, but, we do support all the other initiatives that are out there. I think they're all wonderful, and in some cases, it's really the only way for some of these farmers to get a fair price for what they do. In our case, we're able to just do it directly.
That's wonderful. And Bill, there's a question from Mrs. Nemec. She is a teacher in Penncrest High Schools, and she's asking if there's a difference in the flavor depending on where the vanilla comes from, the different regions. Is that
Yes.
the case?
It is a thing. It is a thing. So there's two major species of vanilla, planifolia, which people often call bourbon, although that's a regional designation. That means it comes from Madagascar and the Indian Ocean area. And then there's a whole different species, which is Tahitian, Tahitensis. And those two have very distinct flavor profiles. Planifolia is what most people think of as vanilla. Tahitian is more floral and fruity. But even among planifolia, it does matter where it's grown. It's that terroir, like wine like grapes for wine. It depends on the soil and the climate conditions and those sorts of things. And I can't say that I have a trained enough palate to appreciate the subtle differences of a Madagascar vanilla bean versus a Mexican vanilla bean. But there are people who have those distinct preferences because of the subtle changes between the two different areas. All the different areas.
Great, thanks. And somebody is popping another question here. How do you know if something is a fair trade product before buying it?
Well, that may be a question for the Media Fair Trade Committee.
Yes, that's a question that anybody wants to answer, or
You can look for different labels, right?
this Drew is there. He is
I think Drew's going to do
reporting
show and tell
directly
for
from
us.
from his fair trade business on State Street, Earth and State. So he will answer that question. He must be coming with a, yeah, there you go.
It's one of our brochures. So here we got a bunch of different logos that all have fair trade certification. This is the world, and this is the Fair Trade Federation, more for crafts and kind of a membership organization. That logo is also there. And then this is a European logo, I believe. Fair for Life's another one, and the Fair Trade USA certification here. But it's also in many cases about knowing the product and the story that it comes from, and these are just guides that you can use. Bill's company has been around for a long time and always working with the same people and really focused in. That's great. So that is also fair trade too.
Yes, thank you, Drew. So basically, when you head to a store, you can either look for the logo in the packaging or learn about the products that you choose to buy from presentations like this, or from their websites, or from other people that recommend you and tell you, well, this is a fair trade product, or this product comes from a company that hosts fair trade values, or that's in the case of Singing Dog Vanilla, that's trade directly with the farmers. So those are some of the ways that you can know if a product is fairly traded. And yeah, somebody's asking, where can we buy Singing Dog Vanilla? I guess in the area, media and around.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So of course you can find us online, but we're very strong in places like independent co-ops, places like Swarthmore Co-op in the media area. Kimberton Whole Foods up by where I am in Phoenixville it carries a large number of our products. But you'll also find us in Whole Foods markets in this area. But you can go to our website. We have a store locator. Put in your zip. It'll tell you where the closest place is.
Good.
I'll renew our. We should get more vanilla at the store. So
All right, Drew.
I'll place an order for vanilla. So here too.
There you go. And you can get it at Earth and State.
Yes.
Very soon.
Yes. Yes, they do. They used to have this great lip balm, vanilla lip balm. That was great. So highly recommended to anyone. And let's see if there's anything else.
People still look for that lip balm, and I'm sorry, we just haven't refilled them.
We'll hook you up, Drew. No worries.
So somebody's asking, Mrs. Nemec is asking again, what is the best Singing Dog Vanilla for family and friends who love to bake?
Ooh, well, I'll tell you one of the favorites, although with vanilla prices being kind of high, it's got a higher price point. But one of our all-time favorites has been, it's a tall bottle. It's like a 5-ounce sauce bottle of vanilla extract and has a whole vanilla bean inside. So you not only get great organic pure vanilla extract when you're done, or even before you've done, you've got yourself an extra vanilla bean in there. So that's a fun one.
Great. Let's see. Yeah, I guess.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So, Bill, good to see you. It's been too long.
Yes, it has been.
This is really, really a fascinating presentation. I love the way you put it together. I just had a question about after going to Indonesia all those years, and it's the same island, right? Mostly.
Mostly.
Yeah. So did you start learning any languages there? Or?
Yeah, that's a great question, David, because actually, I have been going for a number of years, and
Yeah.
I was like, the very small handful of words. But after the last time I went there, I'm like, this is ridiculous. I've got to learn this. So, I'm proud to say that I'm on a 290-day Duolingo streak. I'm learning Indonesian.
Oh,
I
good.
haven't been to Indonesia since 2019 because my 2020 trip didn't happen. I haven't been there. So
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
hoping to go back and be much more able to communicate with people.
Well, that's excellent. Wow. So you go to that one island and you say you go to other places in Indonesia or outside of Indonesia?
Primarily to the island of Lombok, but we have farmer affiliations on the island of Flores and on Bali. I think everybody's heard of Bali. Yeah, but yeah, we kind of have a nice group of folks, with the majority of them being on Lombok.
Wonderful, wonderful. That's fascinating. Thank you.
Thank you.
And Bill, are you guys currently working and importing other products or other ingredients?
No, we are not.
Oh.
We are committed to being a vanilla company. And what I didn't share in our history is actually when we started the company, Marty and I were sort of, we had vanilla, but then at one point we added a cinnamon and we had this pepper from the island of Pohnpei in Micronesia. And we thought, okay, we're going to be this collection of brands. And all of these things had great stories. The Pohnpei pepper was the world's best pepper. I mean, people who'd been on that island in 1950 would write us say, oh, thank goodness you got this pepper back. I remember when I was diving back then. And, and it was great. But, the vanilla is the thing that really we found we had the passion for. And as we kept going with this, people were saying, well, you're the spice company. You're the spice. When we tried to say we're the vanilla company. So what we ended up doing was getting rid of those other things and focusing solely on vanilla. So, we're the vanilla company. It's like I was saying in part of the presentation, some places will say, okay, now we're doing this, what else can we do? We're specialists. You want great vanilla, come to us. You want some other flavor? There's somebody else for you.
Hey, Bill, my
Barbara.
question, it's really good to see your face.
You too.
My question is, what was that creature on your final slide?
So I've been doing these trips for a lot of years, and usually they're nonstop on the go. And that was from a few years ago. We went over to visit some growers on the island of Flores, and we had an extra day. And off of where the city that I was on Flores is Komodo Island, home to the Komodo dragons. And Muhir and I took a boat ride out to see the Komodo dragons. And I don't know how much you know about Komodo dragons, but they'll take down deer, and they can be pretty nasty. And we walked around the island with a guy who the only thing he had to protect us was a forked stick and this staff that had a fork at the top, presumably so he could hold back the lizard should it decide to attack us. But we survived.
That thing was huge.
It was big. It was big.
I added quite the color to the end of the presentation. Well, I don't think anybody else has, at least the chat has not, nobody else has written any more questions. So I guess if nobody else has any more questions, it only makes me think, it only makes me think that the main, I guess the main thing to follow is your life passion and your heart call, because even though it may sound boring and flat or unexciting, it is the opposite when it is the true call. So for many of us, it's fair trade, the call, and for you was vanilla, and for others will be other things. I guess that would be the main learning for me, and I hope for all these young ears and students that are joining us today. So thank you for being such a great role model on how to follow your heart.
It's been my pleasure, and I appreciate you having me here today. And it's so great to see so many familiar faces here today. It's been really great for me. Thank you so much.
Well, keep on working and keep on sharing the good news of singing that vanilla. Thank you, Bill.
Okay, thanks.
Thanks everybody for coming, and especially Professor Pavlovskaya and Professor Mnemek in Pencrest. Thank you and all your students for showing and for spreading the word of fair trade. Thank you and have a wonderful afternoon, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Bye.
Bye, Bill.
Bye.